Hey guys, today we're going to talk about journalism, what its purpose is, how social media is changing it, and a bit about Trump's campaign, all after this teaser.
Somewhere within our souls, we think that journalists should be discovering the truth. It's the problem of being a student. You need to find somewhere to go to school, but by definition as a student, you don't know certain things. So who do you choose and why? We do talk about out of both sides of our mouth. We don't just want the facts about an issue. We also like to be told stories. This may be bad for America, but Trump is very good for CBS.
Hello everyone and welcome to JP Catholic's Faculty Spotlight. With us today we have Dr. Matt Peterson. Matt is a professor of media, politics, and culture at JPCatholic. He graduated from Claremont Graduate University, and since then he has taught at Claremont McKenna College, LMU, and Pepperdine University. He's also done work in media, and as I said, now he is a professor at JPCatholic. So let's get right into it, Matt. Journalists and media have been getting a lot of attention lately, especially with Trump and the election. There have been a lot of accusations that the media is kind of being dishonest and pushing agendas. There's been polls that have been released recently that show that kind of the people's trust in the media and in journalism has been waning. So with all that said, you can kind of come to the conclusion that journalism is bad and that we don't need it. So I just want to kind of take a step back from those ideas right now and just ask the question, what is the purpose of journalism in society?
Yeah, so that is the million-dollar question really right now that's playing out in the headlines across the country and the world. So you have to, first off, get away from the notion, I think, that journalism is a monolithic institution and that it's one thing.
Right.
I think part of the problem that we face now is that people have assumed a lot about what journalism is and is not. And so what is the purpose of journalism? What is journalism about? Is it a bad thing? Well, what is the purpose of journalism? I mean, that's a question that we're trying to resolve. I think in most people's minds today, there is a sense that journalists should be seeking the truth. They should be seeking what the facts are, right? They should be presenting those facts to the public so the public can make informed decisions, as we say, about politics and other matters. That being said, however, we do talk about out of both sides of our mouth because we don't seem to just want the facts. And journalism operates in a commercial context where large commercial entities need to make a buck. And so we're lying to ourselves if these are non-profit entities. As the president of CBS famously said this election cycle, this may be bad for America, but Trump is very good for CBS.
Yeah.
So there's a sense right now in which the curtain has been taken away, and it's a good time to ask the question. So I would say there is no definition of journalism that's set in stone. It's
Right.
changed radically throughout American history.
Yeah.
But I think that probably what you're pointing to is the fact that somewhere within our souls, we think that journalists should be discovering the truth of what's going on in the world that's relevant and important to us, and presenting those facts to us. That's the language we use.
Yeah, and some the kind of difficulty with presenting the truth, as you said, involving the companies that are for profit and even the public in general, is that people tend to not really like nuance. And the truth is often nuanced. So, people just want things simplified. And, it's not that it takes time to explain things as they are, kind of explaining both sides, but it takes kind of mental power to receive that and to comprehend it.
Yes. In fact, to know something about, for instance, healthcare policy, right? There's people who live their whole lives in various aspects of healthcare who don't fully understand the system. That doesn't mean that the average person can't determine for themselves what their position is, but in order to understand the facts, right, the facts are not neutral. They're not like a bunch of Lego blocks that you just present to people or put in discrete compartments and puzzles. That's not the way life is. The truth is something more complex than facts. Facts are embedded within a specific context of reality as it is. So you have a number of problems. One is that people, we don't have the time of day, even if we wanted to spend the time. We don't have the time or expertise to know what we need to, or what we think we need to, on many of these issues.
We don't know what we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know what we don't know, and so it's the problem of being a student, right? You need to find somewhere to go to school, but by definition as a student, you don't know certain things. So who do you choose and why, right? And we want journalists to be able to just unpack it to us in a simplistic manner. We'd like it if we got nice 5-minute segments.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, we don't just want the truth. We don't just want the facts about an issue. We also like to be told stories.
Right.
Right. So there's more going on than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can definitely see, like, kind of in the media there's kind of pushback against what journalists choose to cover. So how should journalists decide what's newsworthy and what they should cover?
Well, of course, it's impossible to separate that question with what you think the purpose of journalism is, right? Mm-hmm. I would say, though, that clearly, I don't want to just give a non-answers here, right?
Sure.
I think that clearly there's something to be said for what is the stuff that everybody should know.
Yeah.
And that relates especially to politics, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if we're all Americans, we all live here in this geographic location, then we all should care about what's happening at the federal level with our government, right?
Yeah.
If we're all Californians, we should care what's going on with the state of California and the laws that we're all subject to. So yeah. There would clearly be matters of civic importance that we all should be interested in, mm-hmm. and that you would therefore expect journalism to cover.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned kind of social media and the digital age. So essentially with social media, we are all sort of our own news station, and every other person is a news station for us, and we can kind of pick and choose. So with all that, where do you see journalism heading?
Yeah, so with social media, we call it social media, and it's interesting that we at first didn't realize it would be used socially. It's almost as if we have to relearn the same lessons when it comes to technology.
What do you mean when you say that it would be used socially?
Well, when the digital age starts, we think that computers are going to be isolated machines in which they do calculation.
Right.
You thought the computer was atomizing, right? It made you an atomistic individual. You go to your cubicle and you use your tool to calculate.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, right, it turns out that human beings, as Aristotle said over 2 millennia ago, are naturally social. And they want to use digital technology to communicate with each other.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with this. This is perfectly normal, natural, and healthy. Mm-hmm. And we should expect that any new technology that allows us to communicate is going to be used in a social way. It's interesting that many people did not see that coming when really I think the wisdom of the past would have told you this.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, when it comes to journalism, you can see certain trends that are similar. So in America, when you established in the era of the founding, you started to establish newspapers as they were originally created. This was new stuff. This was hot stuff. It made people like Benjamin Franklin his fortune. And when you look at the early papers, in many ways they were like blogs. I mean, they had random collections, short bits of articles, squibs. They were short pieces that might be copied, and they'd have a lot more randomness, I guess we could say, than you have now, or that we're used to in print journalism.
Yeah.
There's no traditional way of doing this, right? Mm-hmm. What should be in the paper? So you see right away that the new medium, as it spreads, causes a lot of chaos, a lot of it foments the revolution. Mm-hmm. It allows many people to speak who couldn't speak before, and then it's misused right away. So we have this sacred notion of the newspaper. I like the newspaper, but the newspapers in the founding period where people would say terrible things about them.
Yeah.
So Thomas Jefferson, right, famously gives money to media guru of his day to trash his opponents. The press is very much in question. Fisher Ames in 1805 writes about how the decline of the republic is here, and the papers are supposed to bring us knowledge and the truth, and instead they're all corrupt and they're leading the people down this primrose path, and there's propaganda all over the place, right?
Yeah.
And in those days you had many partisans just directly paying for newspapers as propaganda, right? So the medium is never pristine.
Yeah,
right?
It's striking.
But it will be different.
Yeah, it's striking the similarities. Is like, you kind of ask, what's the future of social media? You almost have to look to the past, and it's almost like things are similar. Things at the beginning of newspapers were similar to things now with the beginning of digital media and social media, because you're applying the human person to to media. It's just different forms.
Yeah, and I should say, I mean, the digital medium is very different than print.
Sure.
It allows for, it's a different way of thinking, it's a different way of consuming information.
Okay, so then what does that look like, sort of practically speaking, with, say, like Donald Trump and kind of the recent election?
Well, TV journalists lost control of the narrative. TV journalism was in many ways used by Donald Trump for the sake of his own purposes, his own ends. When you think about what was actually driving things technologically when it comes to journalism, it was all digital. Right? WikiLeaks, a conversation, an audio conversation, right? I mean, events in the past that have been digitally recorded that don't go anywhere, and that then come back to haunt you come campaign time.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're slowly dispensing this digitally recorded information with WikiLeaks over time has this incredible impact on that entire campaign, right? You could not understand what had happened journalistically, just in the realm of journalism, if you didn't understand the role of digital media in the last election cycle.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Matt.
No, thank you for having me.
And for you, all of you watching, if you'd like this, stay tuned in the coming weeks. We'll have some just short little bonus clips from this. And if you want to just kind of click around and hear for other videos that we're working on, there's some great stuff. And also subscribe. And thanks for watching.